Sports Lounge, 191. Travis Krins, got an old goddamn hat there. Marcus Traxter there. Charlie Hildebrand there. Happy anniversary, Nathan Stacken. 10th anniversary already. So he stayed married a whole year, a whole calendar year. Did you think it would happen, Charlie?
I did think it would happen, but I do think he still deserves credit because I know people who have been married and it did not last as long as Stackens did. So kudos to Stacken.
Marcus, will this dog be the death of this marriage?
It looked like the dog wasn't happy to be there. Like the dog's already struggling in the photo that was posted today. So I'm worried about the dog, gotta be honest.
Good. Dogs just practice for the kids.
It is. I don't know where it's going. Probably won't see Stacken. I would assume we wouldn't, but you never know. He's a dedicated son of a bitch.
I have to be honest. I hope we don't, just because if this is your anniversary, I'm going to say it wouldn't be a good idea. And the Vikings aren't playing today. You need to take this chance to just spend time away from us and with your wife.
Although, how funny would it be if we see Stacken all of a sudden appears on the show and you can see like candles and stuff in the background and Stacken doesn't have a shirt on and is just like profusely sweating. It's like, sorry, I'm like, guys, I made it. What did I miss?
The candles are for us.
Yeah.
We've been our relationship has been longer than his with hers, right? So
that's right.
I don't know. You don't see him buying us anything.
He did buy me. He did buy me the squirt. So he bought me the squirt.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. Okay. We know how he likes to go through the NFL schedule every year and kind of predict things. Maybe he was so smart that he predicted, well, I'm going to get married on this Friday, and next year the anniversary will be on a Sunday, and the Vikings will be on a bye week during the 1-year anniversary of my marriage. Maybe he's that smart. Maybe he's just lucky. I don't know. We'll have to ask him at a later time. So.
Better to be lucky than dumb.
That's right.
I can see Stacken at least playing that thought out in his brain. Like, yeah, it's work this way, and then it won't be a Sunday for like another 7 or 8 years after this.
Get it out of the way soon. There you go. The playoffs, getting ready for the game 2, Cubs-Dodgers. Very good game 1. Cubs, they beat the Giants. It was an even year, and the Giants didn't win. Game 4 was an even game, and the Giants, they almost won that one. Charlie, the anticipation for Game 5 would not have been good, I would assume.
Say the last sentence again. The sound screwed up there for a second, but it's better now. I caught all that except the last sentence.
I'd say the Cubs would be very fortunate that they did not have to go to a Game 5 versus San Francisco.
Yeah, definitely would not want to, because it would have been in Wrigley Field, but still, I mean, because they were up 2-0, right?
Yep.
Yeah, up 2-0. Have the Giants win 2 in a row, all the pressure would have been on the Cubs. All we would have heard was, haven't won a World Series since 1908 or whatever it's been. They're going to blow it again. Who knows if they would have won or not? Obviously, it's way better to just say, you know what, we're not even going to play that game. Let's just end it right now. Like Happy Gilmore on the 18th hole against Shooter McGavin.
No playoff.
Let's putt around and beat them in the playoffs and go, just beat them right now. Let's just pin it now and we don't have to worry about that.
The Cubs-Giants series and the Rangers-Blue Jays series kind of ended in the same way, with Rangers and Giants losing teams using all the pitchers in one inning and nobody getting anybody out. And that's how it ended for both teams. Texas didn't use their closer, and the Giants really don't have one, at least one that's not any good, and they've changed closers at the end of the year. So the Giants didn't get a guy in that is their guy you got to get in. So a bit of a difference there. Indians, they're up 2-0 over Toronto. They had Toronto here coming up tomorrow for Game 3. And Corey Kluber's pitched very well. Marcus, would you say Andrew Miller's the MVP of this postseason totally, or just for Cleveland, or not even that?
For Cleveland, yes. Probably for the whole playoffs, too. I think it's interesting. We seem to be headed down this path regardless, so let's just talk about it. This idea that they use Miller whenever they need him, and it's pretty clear that teams aren't going to do that during the regular season. But we're having this whole, we're just having a lot of dumb takes, I think, on, why don't they use their closer like this all the time? Or, you're only going to do it in the playoffs. Or some people that think it's dumb to use it in this way to begin with. Or, all the other pitchers that have been used in this manner as well. So I think it's interesting. I think Miller's obviously been pretty much lights out. I know the other night he got 5 or 6 outs. He had 5 strikeouts. He went down hit. That's pretty good. So.
Yeah, 17 strikeouts in 17 and 2/3 innings. So that's nearly
20
strikeouts in 9 innings. So that is really good. There's the discussion now if things are going to change. Kenley Jansen came in for the Dodgers in the 7th inning and pitched a couple innings there. I'm of the opinion that nothing is going to change. Charlie, as far as the regular season coming up, I don't see it might happen a couple of more times, but I don't see this. It will happen at some point.
When they use the closer.
Yeah, we're probably a good decade away from this being something. But this is a start, and we've seen that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it has worked. I think
the other part of this is that during the regular season there's 162 games, so I can see the idea of being a little bit more conservative with how you're using guys, because in the regular season you want your guys to make it the whole season. Postseason there's a fewer number of games. There's only 5 in the first round. There's 1 game in a wild card. So I understand if you want to be a little bit more aggressive in the playoffs. I think that's a good way of approaching it. And not that what's typically done in the regular, because it's really not. But I understand the thinking if it's coming from that manner.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of changing and evolving how people use it, not a perfect comparison. I mean, if you think about the NFL was generally more, I would say more conservative than in college football. Just like, oh no, we're going to punt on 4th down and everything. And just in the last 2 or 3 years, it seems there's been a huge uptick of, no, we're at midfield, we're going to go for it on 4th and 1, or we're not going to kick this field goal, we're going to try to get points. So if teams have success doing it, I think whether it should or shouldn't change, it seems like in pro sports especially, they're copycat leagues, and if someone says, oh, this team's doing this and is having success, and they had success for it 2 years in a row, it wasn't a one-time thing, maybe we should start looking at what they're doing.
I'm still surprised at guys still. I mean, last week with the big thing with Zach Britton, and guys are still like, no, gotta leave that closer in. If you gotta keep them until there's a lead, and if there's a lead, then who the fuck comes in? Well, some other guy can come in for that. Dodgers brought in their closer in the 7th inning. He worked a couple innings, and then Kershaw came in, got the last couple of outs. We got Kershaw coming up here in an hour. And watching the shit last night, Marcus, they're like, oh, Kershaw, he pitched in 3 games in that divisional series. He started twice, and he pitched 10 pitches the other night. How is he going to do? To that, what do you say?
I think my approach is similar to Kershaw's. It's just like he doesn't care. I mean, he wanted to be in Game 5, which I think is commendable. I think it has something to do with maybe his reputation in playoffs not being amazing, and so if he's going to get the ball again in Game 2, I think there's a good chance that we can see him 3 times in this series if it goes the distance. So I just think it's great. I think it's great that we're at least having that conversation about guys coming in. It wasn't realistic that he was going to come in Game 1, but I would have liked. I mean, who doesn't want to see that? Who doesn't want to see the Dodgers' best pitcher as much as you can, regardless of what role he has? And it sounded like he sort of knew that it wasn't going to be a large number of pitches in the 9th inning the other night. It's just I'm going to come in there, I'm going to throw what I can, and hopefully we get the win.
And these pitchers throw a bullpen session sometime between their starts, and that's however long that is,
That's what he said. He said the coming in Game 5, he was supposed to throw a bullpen that day anyway. He's like, that replaced that.
It's not a big deal.
You didn't need to do that then. So
it's a high quality bullpen session. He gets more experience points than MLB Road to the Show now.
That's right. Yeah,
get those experience points up. Nationals lose again. They're the Atlanta Braves here of this decade, I suppose. In a lot of times, they don't win anything. Max Scherzer, maybe your Cy Young winner, pitched 6 innings, 99 pitches, something like that. Gave up a home run in the 7th, and then Dusty Baker took him out. 1-1 tie. Charlie, some guys don't like that move, saying this is your guy. Maybe can you go another inning? He did just give up a home run, but besides that, good move, bad move, taking out your best pitcher. 7th inning, 1-1 game, season on the line.
I think in any sport, and it's a little bit different than baseball, because baseball's just different than football, basketball, and hockey. But when push comes to shove, I think you want your best guys in there. I would rather lose because your best guy doesn't get it done than have I think you're better off if you're the Nationals losing with Scherzer out there than pulling them and then having the guy who comes in to replace him give up runs. And everyone's saying, well, why did you take out our best player then? Mm-hmm. And I've said it before, but it's the Michael Jordan with the Bulls. When you got Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr's a good shooter, but Michael Jordan's going to take the last shot in the game.
For the record, bad move taking Scherzer out. Doubly bad move because this is Dusty Baker we're talking about. So, you get the double whammy there when you're an idiot like he is.
What is it, 9 or 10 games now in a row he's lost? Series deciding games.
Yep.
So that's not good. 2 of those with the Cubs back in 2003. Nationals didn't bring in their closer till there were 2 outs in the 8th inning. Mark Melancon, what was it? The 7th inning was the crazy inning, went over an hour between the Dodgers and the Nationals, and everything went down there. And that's when the Dodgers bring in their closer, and that's when Washington brings in anybody but their closer, a guy they traded for with Pittsburgh 2 months earlier, and they bring him in with 2 outs in the 8th inning. And at that time, what was it, still tied, or 1-run game, and by that time a little bit too late for my liking. So Nationals out. They fucked up the bullpen. Toronto still got a chance here. They cannot hit against Cleveland. They go back home. Is Toronto still alive in this series? Very close games, very low scoring games. So they have by no means gotten blown out. It's been homer here, homer there. Toronto down 2-0. Are they still alive? They got to win 4 out of 5.
Oh yeah, I think they're definitely still alive. I think they've only given up 4 runs in the series so far, and,
that's right.
And like you said, a couple of those have come on home runs, and I think their offense is probably performing a little bit better at the Sky Dome, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in Game 3. I think anybody, even with the injuries they've had, I think you give the pitching advantage to Cleveland in this series, right? So for them to sort of have the start they've had with 2 really strong outings, I don't think is totally surprising.
Dodgers Cubs tonight. Dodgers do not have to win, but Charlie, would it be good if they did win? Down 2-0, can they? That's kind of tough.
It's pretty. Yeah, so you never want to go down 0-2. So I think you're better, especially when they've got Kershaw pitching tonight. So you want to win for obvious reasons, anyways, and you don't want to lose when your guys out there also. And they need something good to have happen to them. I think just to get some momentum. You give up a grand slam in a tie game in the 8th. That's definitely that can give you some bad mojo going forward, maybe. So
also, it's not a must win. The series is 1-0.
That's right.
Game 2, it's not a must win.
Dave Roberts made some moves last night in that 8th inning. Joe Blanton was the guy out there. He's been pretty good this year. Kenley Jansen wasn't out there, was it? He had a day off between 50 pitches. Could he give an inning? I don't know, maybe. He's kind of a bitch, but
I understand why he wasn't. They didn't have him there. So
well, they go with Joe Blanton, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, well, the pitcher's up, and Chapman's the pitcher, and you probably want to get him out, so you you walk the bases loaded, and you bring in whatever pinch hitter they're going to bring in, and you try your luck there. If you get him out, you're probably going to win the game, and if he gets a hit, probably going to lose the game. So, and some people, the move did not work out. The move did not work out. I'd say the one criticism would be they didn't pitch to Jason Hayward, and as we know, Jason Hayward, not a good hitter. I probably would have done exactly what he would have done. Maybe I would have brought in Kenley Jansen to pitch to that one hitter, Montero. And anything different, Marcus, you would have done? Pitch to Hayward, bring in a pitcher, what else? Anything?
I think it was executed fine. I mean, if you're under the assumption that Jansen's not available, you're throwing. I think it was a smart move to get Chapman out of the game and take your chances with somebody else in the ninth. And then, Montero, what is he, a career 220 hitter? And
I think he's not been good this year. I think he's been good in years past, but this year has not been good. So
my point is that was a really bad pitch to him that he crushed. I mean, that was an 0-2 slider that he left in the middle of the plate. He was ahead of him. I think it's just one of those cases where it's one bad pitch. And then if you need any more, affirmation, the one manager everybody likes on the other side, Joe Madden, somebody asked him, well, what would you have done in that situation? They're like, he said exactly what Roberts did. So I don't think there's anything really to be said for, he made it sound like he thought it was a pretty smart decision on the Dodgers' part. Obviously, to get Chapman out of the game.
I also like that after the Cubs hit the grand slam to break a tie game and go up 4, they hit the insurance home run to go up 5 just to make sure.
Well, they needed it because they got to run back in the ninth.
That's right.
The insurance was gone. They still had the 4-run lead.
So if you had the Cubs minus 4.5, you lost.
You did, yeah.
And it was Dodgers couldn't hit all game, and then 3-1, and Adrian Gonzalez gets a hit and drives in 2, and you're like, God damn. Dodgers are going to steal game 1 here. But Cubs, their year, things like this happen, I suppose. So game 2 is tonight. Over-under 6.5. I like the over.
I like the over. Yeah, I agree.
That 7th inning, I would say Kershaw's 7th inning. That's when he turns to shit. So his last game, he was fine up until the 7th, and that's when he gave up the runs. Had a great duel with Bryce Harper to get him out, and he maybe left him in for one batter too long, and maybe the bullpen gives it up anyway. But maybe 6 innings from Kershaw tonight, and go with Jansen and company the rest of the way there. What do you think of Pete Rose, Marcus? Pete Rose, he likes to laugh.
The hair transplant. He needs Joe Buck's hair transplant badly, or he needs to think about a wig. I hate his hair, and his baseball takes also bad.
Good. Cubs, Cleveland.
I just want his betting advice.
Have you seen his wife?
I have not.
Quick, have you, Marcus?
I think I've seen her before, but I don't. It's not. Not vivid.
If Charlie would like to Google that and maybe get his reaction to
Wow.
Pete Rose's wife. Pete Rose is 75 years old. She's about 40 years younger than he is.
Good job, Pete.
Being the all-time hits leader has its benefits, I guess.
There we go, Pete
Maybe
Rose.
just because he's a rebel and is not in the MLB Hall of Fame.
I don't know if he has any kids, but I assume they're all older than she is.
Does she know that if he dies, she might have to pay back the gambling debts? Does she know that?
I don't think so. It's part of the will.
Well, I don't know. Can she take over his job of greeting people in Las Vegas and get paid the same rate?
Maybe even higher.
Or does just being related to Pete Rose not count? You have to actually be Pete Rose.
She might offer different services than Pete Rose. I'm not sure.
She's 36, and this says fiance. So
I'd get those papers signed as soon as possible, lady.
Nothing's final. Yeah.
Get them signed as soon as possible. Cubs.
He's on his 3rd wife. It looks like this would be wife number 3.
What did he win? 3 World Series? 4 World Series? There you go.
Wondering. He divorced from his previous wife in 2011. who's 69 years old.
There you go. Cleveland Cubs seems like the likely series, and that seems like the series that would be the best if you had to put it together at the beginning of the deal. The two teams that have gone the longest without winning. Charlie, would that make the non-baseball person out there go, "Oh, Cubs, Indians"? A lot of storylines there, and that'd be probably a big bonanza for baseball.
Yeah, I mean, not in terms of like market, I don't know, but just in terms of like the casual fan wanting a storyline to see, I think Cubs and Indians is easily the best one because what the Indians last won it in '48, I think. Yeah, so either first time in 70 years or first time in 110 years. So
that'll be good. Would you have a rooting interest either way? I'd root for the Cubs.
I don't know. I think the thing I would like the most is I would hope it goes 7 games, and whoever wins in like painstaking fashion. So like you get to see one side, or part of the crowd go nuts, and then the other side of the crowd just, like every week in college football, where you just see someone like slouched over, surrender Cobra, or anything like that, and just think, oh no. I think it would be funnier. I think it'd be funnier if the Cubs lost, although the Indians winning wouldn't have the same appeal since the Cavaliers already won this year. Although I think that would still be a big deal also. But to have Cubs fans, I mean, because I don't remember, they haven't made the World Series in like 60 years or whatever for the
45?
the thing.
45. So the Indians have won one more recently than the Cubs have even been to one. So it's been a long, long time. Something that I said or tweeted about was Indians are going to have home field here. Indians or Blue Jays are going to have home field.
Good.
Is that a big deal? I mean that's asinine. Something's got to get rid of this fucking rule with the All-Star game, and if this isn't it, I'm sorry. 103 wins, you're on the road. That's bullshit.
Yeah, but this time it counts.
Good. Thank God it
I
counts.
think at the time when they did that, like I understand their reasoning at the time for doing it, but I think it's time to move on from that and say no, we're going to let the team that's really earned home advantage get it, and not the team who said, oh yeah, it was really nice that that guy from the Orioles or from the Pirates hit that double in the 9th inning, so our league could win.
Looking at the schedule, a Game 7 between Toronto and Cleveland would happen on Saturday, and a Game 6 would be that same Saturday. Game 7 would be 1 week from tonight for a Cubs-Dodgers deal. And I think I heard that Game 1 in Cleveland of the World Series would be the same day as the Cavaliers season opener, and they get their rings. So Game 1 of the World Series, and they raise the banner in Cleveland same night. Likely to happen, I think, if that's what.
LeBron won't be there.
Maybe he will. Maybe he'll just take the second half off.
LeBron will be there, but he'll be wearing a New York Yankees hat.
Born and bred, Akron, Ohio's own New York Yankees. I got a few football games going on here. Green Bay Packers are going to lose to the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? They're are they 5-1 now after this one? What is it?
America's team.
America's team on America's game, a Thursday night edition of Saturday Night Football on Sunday night. Dallas beats Green Bay. Me and Stacken talked about this a week or two ago on his little show. Maybe what's the possibility here that the Green Bay quarterback just isn't good anymore?
It's possible.
It seems more likely now to me than it did 3 or 4 weeks ago when it was just like, well,
you'll get it.
Slow start. Now I'm kind of wondering.
Because isn't Dallas' defense not really that awesome?
I don't know.
I mean, isn't it like just a kind of more of a pack type defense? And they played Detroit last week. Detroit's defense isn't that good.
Hey, you know it better than I do. This isn't Detroit. This is not
Detroit. This is not Detroit. This is the Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers today, 31 of 42, 294, 1 touchdown. That's okay.
Serviceable, yeah.
Serviceable, but with turnovers, we got turnovers here. Things happened, and are the Cowboys? Are they legitimate here? I thought they would be awful with the rookie quarterback. Are the Cowboys worth the damn?
It appears they're at least worth a damn, and I feel dirty for saying this. I actually am enjoying watching them play this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go as far to say I like the Cowboys, but they're entertaining to watch. So take that for what it's worth.
I don't like that Doug Bryant's basically dead, and that he is on my fantasy team and not played at all, basically. But yeah, other than that, I think they are somewhat enjoyable to watch. They are my preference in the NFC East over the other three teams.
And it turns out if you have a really good offensive line and you draft a good rookie running back, and if your quarterback is at least just reasonably good, that your offense can excel very, very well, I guess.
This was the formula a couple years ago when they were really good. The DeMarco Murray had a bunch of yards, and they were okay. And Romo didn't make mistakes, and now they got Dak Prescott, who I didn't think he'd be worth shit at all. And he just doesn't throw interceptions. He threw one today for the first time ever.
They called it a fumble.
A fumble is what it was?
Yeah, it was kind of like his arm was going forward type thing, and they were able to fumble. So I think that streak's still alive.
So it's not an interception.
Klanga.
I go to the box score here, and it says interception.
Maybe he threw another one.
Maybe he threw another turnover. So Ezekiel Elliott had 145, 150 yards. Do you see similarities between this Dallas team and the Vikings? The quarterback doesn't make many mistakes, but the Dallas running game was a lot better, and the Vikings defense is a lot better. So maybe these teams aren't similar at all.
I was going to say, they're similar as long as you put in those 3 or 4 caveats.
Except those 9 things, they're not the same at all. So Vikings are still undefeated. They didn't.
Dak Prescott made it about another 10 passes before he threw a real pick. So
would we call that regression to the mean? Is what we would call that.
1 interception.
And so not throwing an interception for a month and a half, and then throwing all the interceptions in close proximity.
Also, I kind of like it when you can guess NFL draft stuff. That stuff looks pretty straightforward, and it works out that way. So when everyone was like, yeah, I think Ezekiel Elliott will be a really good pro running back. And then like, oh yeah, he'll definitely be good with the Cowboys offensive line. It's like, oh yeah, it's worked out that way.
So does this change the trend at all of running backs getting selected high? Because this guy did well. We've got a plethora of running backs. Fournette, probably going to be a top 10 pick. Dalvin Cook, probably going to be close right there. Is it going to change something? Is Ezekiel Elliott a civil rights movement guy?
Maybe.
We will wait and see. Watch out for Lounge 162 in 9 months. We'll talk draft.
I can put it this way. I know that Christian McCaffrey's not going to go in the first round.
Bad time to be McCaffrey. Bad deal there. Seattle's playing Atlanta right now. It's 24-23 Atlanta. And Seattle's got the ball, so I'm sure they're going to pull it out of their ass here again somehow. Maybe switch over to that game here, Fox. Maybe do that.
Seems like
according to this deal here, it's a 4th and 3 at the Atlanta 26. Hope this fucking ad doesn't play. So
the Falcons blocked the Seahawks extra point. That's why it's 24-23.
Now I would assume
Seattle. It appears the Seahawks are lining up for a field goal, according to NFL Red Zone.
So we'll see. And then Atlanta, they will have plenty of time to counter with a field goal of their own. So those two is Atlanta showing you something?
Field goal by the Seahawks is good.
It's good. If Atlanta wins it, if they don't win, they played. It looks like they played decent today, and they seem always like a team that nobody, when they do well, takes seriously at all, just because they really haven't had any success. Would a win at Seattle change that at all? Anything they could do where you're like, well, Atlanta, they might be the team, or is it just you go 13-3? I don't care.
Win at Seattle helps, but I'm not involved with them at all. So.
I'll put it this way. If Atlanta finds a way to win, I'll say they're for real, but being for real in Atlanta means losing the first round of the playoffs.
How about this? If you had a choice between Dallas and Atlanta, who goes further?
Dallas.
I'm taking Dallas.
Taking Dallas. Look out there. December 4th, Thursday after Thanksgiving. Dallas at Minnesota. Thursday night. Got to be the greatest Thursday night game of all time.
Getting my body ready right now.
Getting your body ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll check in with you later on. See how that's going right there. Vikings, Eagles next week. That's going to be fun.
How many jerseys will Carson Wentz go through?
All of them.
Bring extra jerseys.
Bring an NDSU jersey. If there are any other NFL notes?
Do you think the Eagles lost because Carson Wentz was having a hangover because the Bison also lost?
I think there's a strong correlation there.
Absolutely. I want to make a mention here. Mr. Hildebrand is doing well against the spread this year. Right now you are 15th. Oakland game didn't go well. It appears that you'll get the Dallas game right. Seattle game not going well either. So you were up to second in the nation, I think. And you were top 5. Now you're in 15th. So somewhere in the top 20, somewhere around there. Is this your greatest accomplishment, sports picking, whatever? I mean, we're halfway through the year almost. We're in, week 6? And you almost were number 1 out of everybody.
I mean, I think we can take it a step further. This might be the greatest thing I've ever accomplished, period, in the history of my life. I mean, if something were hundreds of thousands of people, I'm assuming it's that many. It used to be in years past, you could see like how many total people there were, and it appears to not show that number anymore. But based off years past, it's probably like 200,000 or 300,000 people, and I've never been this high in anything with these. I know a few years ago in the college football one, I finished like second in our group and in the 93rd percentile, and I was like excited about that for a month afterwards because I usually don't even do close to that well.
You've said in the past you pick majority underdogs, and you've said majority underdogs in a home. Is that your one basic strategy here?
My basic strategy is don't think too hard about it. And if you look at it and you say, yeah, I guess it might be closer than that, then I take the underdog. And I do that more often if the underdog's playing at home.
It's a very impressive streak.
The other thing that's interesting about like ESPN Pick'em for the NFL is that they take the lines very early in the week. They take them on like Monday or Tuesday. And a lot of times they move quite a bit. But obviously they don't change on ESPN.com. So I think that can sometimes be helpful. Or hurt, or it can hurt. But I found it more often or not to be somewhat friendly to the picker.
There you go. We'll see if Atlanta can do something here. Probably not. So Seattle's going to win. That'll be nice. College football, not a whole lot happened. Number 2 team, number 3 team almost lost in overtime. 1 against Wisconsin, Ohio State. Wisconsin's pretty good, I guess. Clemson, though. Clemson did not play well. They played awful. This is not good. They remind me, Charlie, of what was it, 2014 Florida State. Both teams made the national championship. Florida State won it. The next year, Florida State's undefeated again, but they didn't impress me at all. And right now, they got a pretty good win versus Louisville, and they were awfully unimpressive in that game. All their scoring came within like 5 or 6 minutes in that second quarter. But I would probably not put Clemson in my playoff right now.
You gave the example of Florida State in 2014 coming off a title win in 2013. I would also add kind of like Ohio State last year, coming off a title. Now, granted, Clemson didn't win a title last year, but they played in the national title game. And I think Clemson's still good. They've got a lot of the same players. I think it's interesting that they lost all the guys on defense, but have replaced them, and their defense seems to be just as good, but their offense has kind of taken a step back. And people say it all the time, and it's overblown and cliched, but I think there's some truth to it, that It's just the difference between being like that good team in the conference you have to play for and being like the team where you're like, oh yeah, we're getting everybody's best shot every week.
Somebody in Atlanta got something happening in Seattle. A guy just went absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts.
These guys are really angry.
You wanted it to be pass interference, it looks like.
That's no pass interference. Shirley Jones almost made the catch of the year, but
I don't think
what's this guy's name? Dan Quinn?
Quinn, yeah.
Mr. Clean, he went absolutely insane. What happened to Mike Smith? Where's Mike Smith these days? I'm sure he's coaching him up somewhere. And there's Pete Carroll. He pulled another one out of his ass. There you go.
Mike Smith's watching this game on Red Zone in a tanning booth somewhere.
May I make another comparison of a team versus a team from a year or so ago? Is 2016 Nebraska, 2015
like
Iowa?
2015 Iowa?
Yep. Well, they're pretty good. They're probably not 10-2 good, but they win the games. They're winning the games now.
It's getting to the point where, I realize they just went 6-0 yesterday, and that cliche about, or that comparison to Iowa is already getting painfully old. So,
is it?
I would like Nebraska to lose just so that we don't have to talk about it. Even though
in 2 weeks they play Wisconsin, and the week after that they play Ohio State. So
I have no issues with Nebraska. I like their team. I'd very much be fine with them winning the Big Ten West, but I'm getting sick and tired of the comparisons to Iowa because I think this team is better than Iowa.
I would also toss in that if Nebraska finishes 12-0, I think up to now, Nebraska's first 6 games this year are against an overall worse set of competition than Iowa's first 6 last year, because Iowa played a Pitt team that at least won like 8 games. But Iowa did not play Michigan or Ohio State or Michigan State in the regular season, while Nebraska would have to win at Ohio State. So if they get to 12-0, which I think they could only do because of like food poisoning in Columbus or something like that, but if they do, I think it will be a more impressive 12-0. But I don't think we're going to have to worry about that in about 2 or 3 weeks here.
Wisconsin with 2 losses, I still think is going to win the division. They got to run the table. They got to beat Nebraska, but I think Wisconsin's in pretty good shape, and I think they're in pretty good shape for the playoff. Because one of these years there's going to be a 2-loss team, and I feel pretty goddamn safe in saying if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten, they're in the playoff.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Even though they'd be 11-2, they'd have Michigan losses, Ohio State losses. What I'm interested in is if Michigan and Ohio State can have this rematch 10 years later of maybe number 1 versus number 2 again, with everything on the line, and one of those teams loses in a similar close fashion, where that team drops down to and where a Wisconsin team would be at. Because you should not, by rule, drop them lower than Wisconsin. But at that point, Wisconsin's going to be like top 5 with 2 losses because they're, 8 right now. So maybe that Michigan-Ohio State winner do they got a pretty good chance of still being in there? Because right now, I would say the best win anybody has is Clemson over Louisville. That's the best win, probably. And
just real quick, I looked up the final 2006 BCS standings. Standings, not the same as the
regular
playoff
season.
committee.
Regular season.
After everything's over, the final one is after the conference title games.
Okay.
They don't do it again after the bowls.
That's right.
So the final ones had Ohio State 1, Florida 2, and that's why they played in the national title game. And then Michigan was 3rd. So
and I'd say that's.
now also, I think they had 4 2-loss teams that year also. But
you're saying bring back BCS.
That's exactly what I'm saying. For 2 years, as the stopgap before we go back to the old system before that, the Bull Alliance one, where we've got 6 bowl games the same day that could have national title implications. But nobody plays. There's no top 10 teams play each other either.
Good.
Number 1 versus number 12, number 2 versus 13, number 3 versus an unranked team, and number 4 versus number 20.
Hard to believe they ever changed. Hard to believe they ever changed out of that.
I don't think they got it right with the system.
No. So that's Big Ten. They got some stuff there. They got 4 teams in the top 10. I didn't think it'd be Nebraska and Wisconsin. I thought it'd be Iowa and Michigan State. The question is, what the fuck happened to Michigan State?
You've got some problems.
Michigan State kind of butt this year.
Wow.
I mean, like, not only Northwestern football scoring 54, like, when was the last time Northwestern basketball scored 54 points?
Well, just for perspective, Illinois State held Northwestern's offense to 7. And then Michigan State gives up 54. So that's no good.
That is no good.
They're probably not getting good.
It turns out, before the season started, Jim Delaney found out, okay, Ohio State and Michigan State lose so many starters, you've got to divvy up this many losses between those two. And he just said, give all of them to Michigan State. We're not giving any of the losses to Ohio State.
That's right.
There's going to be maybe a half dozen 5-7 teams. I hope there's less than that. There's going to be plenty of 5-7 bowl teams in the deal this year. So that's
real quick, just because you said 5-7. And if you have to pull up their schedule, feel free.
Okay.
Notre Dame is 2-5, right? A, does Notre Dame get to 6-6? B, if not, do they get to 5-7 and have to think if they're going to pull a Nebraska or Minnesota and say, yeah, we're going to use our APR score and go to a bowl game?
They'll go to a bowl if they can get into one.
They're 2-5 right now. They got Miami next week at home. Both teams are playing like shit. Navy aren't fine. They're not. My God, I had this team in the playoff, but they just can't do shit right now.
I think they'll beat Army. They should beat Army.
Vatek, US.
I think they'll be favored in a couple other games, but I could see them potentially. I mean, this is worst case scenario, but I could see them beating Army and losing to everybody else the rest of the year.
Remember when? Remember in week 1 when Texas beat Notre Dame? It was such a long time ago. But we thought, okay, here's a team with 2 quarterbacks making it work. Then you turn to Notre Dame and you're like, there's a team with 2 quarterbacks and they're not making it work. I mean, they've got problems there as far as making that offense go because they can't seem to decide between Kaiser and the other guy. So it's a real issue.
It seems like Notre Dame is a disease this year, and when you play them, you catch it, and they make you worse the rest of the way. Because Texas and Michigan State have both gotten way worse after beating Notre Dame.
Have you guys ever played that playing game? You can play on your phone, where basically you can try to infect all the other countries.
Yeah, I've played that.
And you get to name your disease, and I'm going to. You can play it on the computer, friends. And I'm gonna name a disease Notre Dame and let you know how many people get it. Probably not that many. It'll probably be a bad disease, but I need to try it.
I think there's more than one version of that game, but like the one where Madagascar and Iceland are the 2 toughest to ever get infected.
Yep.
Yeah,
because nobody lives there and nobody wants to go there, so it becomes an issue.
And all the games have been close. They really haven't been blown out. It's just been a bunch of close games, and Notre Dame's lost all of them.
That's what you want. That's what you want. The most painful possible way to go. I mean,
are you saying, since we're comparing teams to other years, are you saying that 2016 Notre Dame is 2015 Nebraska?
Very much. Could be. They also might be 1945 Germany. It was like, goddamn, they were a lot of big expectations, and nope. South Alabama did them in.
Lost early in the season and looked around at everything else and went, nope, this isn't going to work.
Nope, we're going to put a cap on it. Who's 1945 Japan then? Assuming that the USA, of course, is 2016 Alabama.
Well, that would mean they'd have a better record, but would not be as good, technically, but last longer into the season, and be allied with them, which I'm going to say that means they play them this year. Japan, ironically,
USC?
is Army football.
Army football. How about it? How about that? The twists and the turns. I was very much looking forward to Carolina and Miami because I thought it would have meant something.
Whoops.
Me too. It was the game I picked in my one thing.
Well, you got to go to Miami, in theory.
True.
So Carolina wins. Miami, they've kind of shit the bed here last couple of weeks. 2 games, very winnable, and they're not getting it done. Kickers and such. So Carolina got a big game coming up. Let's see, they've already beaten Virginia Tech, so they got a game up on Vatech. Vatech lost to Syracuse. Rest in peace for Stacking. And Pittsburgh and Miami. They let's see here. What do we got? Pittsburgh and Carolina. Carolina's beaten them. So Carolina holds the tiebreaker versus Miami and Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech. So
you're saying they're going to win the division?
Actually, Carolina lost to Virginia Tech. So as the 1 year I thought, well, we're going to get, Miami and Carolina are going to run away with it. It's just going to be like every other fucking year where it's 5-3, 5-4, whatever gets you in, fine.
And ultimately, it's going to be the same as last year, where it's going to be Clemson and North Carolina playing in the ACC title game.
So nothing has changed. The ACC still has bunch of 8-4s, 8-4s and 9-3s.
You mentioned Miami losing and not looking as good the last 2 weeks. I thought it was very nice and fitting that the same day that Georgia lost at home to Vanderbilt, Mark Richt said, "Wait, it's supposed to be me that does stuff like that."
Georgia, I mean, Jesus Christ. Another team that's lost all the close games. And, I mean, Vanderbilt. That's as bad as it gets, folks. You
can't lose at home to Vanderbilt if you're Georgia, Tennessee, or Florida.
Vanderbilt,
if you're Missouri or South Carolina, it's fine.
That might be good enough for Vanderbilt to go to a bowl game, and I think I probably had them like a 10-2. So.
Also, since we're saying all these bad teams, maybe it's worth noting. I don't know if I'd say they're good, but maybe Auburn's not as bad as we thought they were at like week 3 or 4. Their only losses are to Texas A&M and Clemson, and they're like 4-2 or 5-2 now, something like that.
They are ranked. People say they're good enough to be ranked, which they are. So we got LSU and Auburn seems to have turned it around. One fired their coach, and now they score all the points. And that makes the previous regime look even worse somehow. And now they just... For who?
Coach Joe.
Yeah, Coach Joe, he's coaching up that offense, absolutely. So I'm very intrigued, and we found out that, in fact, LSU will play Florida this year, a week before Thanksgiving. So we will...
I really wanted a random Tuesday night SEC game, though.
Right.
I wanted to jam it into the middle of the week.
Hey, if Kershaw can pitch on 1 day's rest, then fucking LSU and Florida, they can play on 3 days rest.
Right.
God damn it.
I think they should have moved it to the Friday before the SEC title game, and then they had to turn around and play the very next day.
Fine with me.
Only the winner, though, so it would only affect one team.
Fine by me. Tennessee played Alabama close for a half. Then the second half happened, and they got their ass kicked. So Alabama impressive yet again. There's still a couple of guys voting in the polls. They give Ohio State a vote. They give Michigan. Some stupid shit gave Clemson the first place vote, I think. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. Clemson, or Alabama there, they ruled the roost where they won 19 in a row, most in the Saban era, or ties for the most. Hard to believe they're going to win 25, 26 in a row all the way to the national championship. And if they get tripped up, maybe this week's the week versus A&M. I guess I just can't see them winning 26 in a row. Whether it's...
I think especially with a freshman quarterback. I mean, he's good, and he's played well, and they do things better than most other teams do. But I would just think that, especially in the regular season, there will just be some game where he doesn't play well, and they only score like 20 points or 17 and end up losing.
LSU, they intrigue me a lot now. They play Ole Miss next week. They host Ole Miss. You got to win that game. And setting up a big one November 5th, 3 weeks from now. Alabama at LSU. That intrigues me now since LSU can actually score some points. Not that they're going to score more than 20 versus Alabama, but goddamn, they figured something out against the likes of Mizzou and Southern Miss. So, and maybe that Auburn game at the end of the, I don't know, that's Auburn just can't score much at all either. But
yeah, I don't know if it's likely, but it looks more likely than it did a month ago when we were thinking that Auburn would only win like 4 games.
And I would give LSU a better chance than Auburn of pulling off that upset. So, SEC West not yet in the bag. Hopefully, if A&M could win, that could open up some things. Auburn, LSU, technically still alive there. Anything else from the weekend?
Traxler's Buffs beat the snot out of Arizona State and are like 5-2 now.
It's impressive.
Like they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. And like we joked about it before, it's possible. I mean, it's beyond possible. They legitimately might win the Pac-12 South and play Washington in the Pac-12 title game.
And it's looking like that Washington State game might be for something.
Apple Cup.
So Washington State playing in the rain, as they always do. So the Pac-12, garbage conference, but they got one team worth of shit and a couple other teams that are intriguing. Old Miss, Arkansas, pretty good back and forth there. Too bad Old Miss had to lose that one.
Stop putting off the talk about what we need to really be talking about. That's Tulsa pissing away the game with Houston.
I mean,
good play call.
Well, and if you want to talk Boise State, Colorado State, absolutely. The late night 1 a.m. action. Take us through it if you would. Tulsa, a chance to tie, and boy, did they come up short.
One play from the 3-yard line, or two, they run a tight end flat route right on the goal line. It's tackled by 2 guys. I mean, it's not hard. Get into the end zone in a situation where you have no timeouts, and this is for the ball game.
And a deal where you should run at least 2 plays there with their 7 seconds left. You got to get another play off.
Yep.
So you pass the first down, and if you want to run the second play, that's fine. But bad decision.
Also, which actually they were 4-1 going into that game. That's no good. And then last night, Colorado State for 3 quarters didn't do diddly shit, fell behind 28-3. And then
most anticlimactic ending ever.
Rallied hard, 28-25, and
well, like they kicked 2 onside kicks and scored on back-to-back drives.
Yeah, it's just terrible. And then they had some dumbass lateral play that they didn't need to do way too early, and it wasn't a lateral, but I don't blame the refs for calling it the way they did, or going back and reversing it, and that's your ball game.
I gotta say though, they did do one thing I don't think I had ever seen before. I think it was that game where they ran a hook and ladder, but the guy they lateraled it to first, had another guy behind him, so it turned into like a hook and ladder with an option pitch that he maybe could do, and then unfortunately pitched it forward, and there were 5 seconds left, and they reviewed it for forever, and we're like, oh, actually that was forward, and there's a 10-second runoff, so the game's over now.
Some breaking news: West Virginia's undefeated. Apparently, Marcus just found this out. Oh yeah.
I'm saying people just found it out because you said they went up 8 spots in the poll today, right?
I picked Texas Tech to beat them on the road. Texas Tech at home, and the game was not close at any point in this game. After the first 10 seconds, it was 10-0. Somehow they just put up 10 points right away. So it was not close at all. And they're undefeated, so they're going to jump up they're going to jump over a bunch of teams that also won for no goddamn reason at all. It's not like Texas Tech is any good. So they just jumped up a bunch of teams. And wouldn't you know it?
Yeah.
West Virginia hosts Baylor last game of the year.
Good.
Let's get that game to mean something. That'd be good.
What are the chances that they're both undefeated still at that point?
Not very good.
I would agree with that assessment. Not very good, but possible.
West Virginia does host Oklahoma. I still think Oklahoma wins the conference. Baylor. I mean, TCU are they any good? I don't know. Texas. Kansas State. I mean,
Well,
it's
that
like,
South Dakota State win for TCU looks a lot better now.
that does. Should have beat them. The second best team on their schedule. They lost to them. Like they could be. I think Oklahoma's the thing. I just hope one of them's undefeated. And I hope at least one, if not, I hope one of them has one loss. So we can at least have the discussion of this one loss Big 12 team not getting in again. So
There's one stat I can give you, and obviously they've only. I think they went to a 9-game schedule or a 9-game conference schedule in 2011 or 2012, and since the Big 12 did that, there's not been a single team that has gone through the entire conference unscathed.
it's very difficult.
Now, like I said, though, they've only been doing it this way for like 3 or 4 years. It's not like it's been that way for 30 years.
And Oklahoma's still undefeated. I think they're just too far back, and I don't know. And they would not have a good win if Baylor and West Virginia are 2 big wins. I don't think either of those teams finish in the top 10, so I think that's going to get it done with 2 losses. Western Michigan continues to roll. Wake Forest, valiant effort against Florida State, 17-6 loss. Good enough for me. Kansas scored a point. They scored 7. They scored a touchdown. Good for Kansas.
You mentioned Western Michigan. PJ Fleck. I think it's safe to say he's not going to take the Purdue job.
You shouldn't.
But I'm safe to say he's probably not going to be their head coach there next year.
If he's smart. What would you do, Charlie, if you're Purdue?
If I was Purdue, I would either start running the triple option and hire someone that does that, or go the complete opposite end and do what Washington State and Texas Tech do and throw it every play. Because Purdue, not including Maryland and Rutgers, because I know the least about those 2 Big Ten teams, but among the rest of them, Purdue puts the least amount of effort into, we want to be good at football, so we're going to do this and this and this. I think they spend the least amount out of those schools, other than maybe Rutgers and Maryland. And you're not going to get this. I mean, not only are you not going to get as good of players as Ohio State or Michigan, you're not going to bring in as good of players as Nebraska or Wisconsin or Michigan State either. So if you can't bring in as good of players, you're not going to be able to just line up and beat them. So you have to do something differently. And if you're going to do something different, it might as well be different enough that it's difficult to prepare for. And I would say go to the option instead of pass heavy, because you're not as reliant on good offensive linemen then, and you just get guys that can sort of half block for 2 seconds, and then you just put all your best players at quarterback and running back, and then try to beat teams like 24-17 or 24-20 and bleed the clock the entire game.
It's not the worst thing that could happen. Next week, 1 big game. After that, not a whole hell of a lot.
Youngstown State, South Dakota State, both winning.
That's going to be delicious, is what that's going to be. Anybody taking A&M?
No.
Nobody's taking A&M. What is that?
It's worth noting that I think the only time A&M beat Alabama is it was at Alabama.
John Manziel.
This weekend.
So it's at Alabama, which is unfortunate. I have to wait and see there. Amon's team, Boise State, is at 14. 10% playoff shot.
Hopefully 0%.
I think it's lower than 10. I'd give them like a 2% playoff chance.
Hopefully they go 12-0 and get left out of the playoff. That's what I'd like to have happen.
What do you like, folks?
For them to get in, I think they need I think the SEC and Big Ten champs are basically going to get in regardless, unless they somehow have 4 losses. So they're going to need everybody else to have 2 or 3 losses then.
And it ain't going to happen.
And they're going to need Washington State to probably win the rest of their games still.
Washington State and Boise in the playoff. Alabama, Michigan, Washington State, Boise. It's your playoff as of today.
I like it. And we're changing it this year that you have to play at team sites, and somehow Or both Boise State and Washington State get home games.
They're the number 1 and number 2 seeds.
Number 1, number 2. Wisconsin's at Iowa, the game in hell this week. Carolina at Virginia. The Michigans explode with Eastern at Western. Illinois is going to lose by 60 points to Michigan. Hold on. Illinois hasn't played Ohio State yet, have they? So we don't know what Harbaugh's gunning for here.
That's true. Harbaugh doesn't have a number to shoot for to beat. So who knows? He might take it safe, or he might be like, no, we scored 78. We need to try to score 80 this time.
I don't think they play Ohio State this year, so nothing to shoot for Jim. We don't
They
know.
scored 78 on Rutgers, and to me, it wasn't enough.
It wasn't.
Could have scored at least 2 more times. So
Purdue at Nebraska, that ain't going to be close. Memphis at Navy, see if Navy can roll. TCU at West Virginia. Utah at UCLA. Get on the Utes. We're going to 7-1. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Arkansas at Auburn. Hopefully Burt doesn't win that one. Oregon State at Washington going to be a bloodbath. Don't watch that. Houston and SMU. I'm sure Houston will shit their pants again. And Ohio State at Penn State. Oklahoma at Texas Tech.
It's at Penn State and it's at night. I certainly don't think Penn State's going to win. I think it could be sort of a game at halftime. And then Ohio State will remember they're better and win by 20.
And Ole Miss LSU. Let's hope LSU wins that. Coach O moving to 3-0. Let's get that done.
I would like to see Coach O somehow get in a fist fight with Chad Kelly at midfield after the game's over. And they can have that one porn star that Chad Kelly keeps hitting on be the referee.
Be the referee?
Yeah.
Of the fight.
Yep.
SDSU won a football game. Any thoughts on the SDSU beating the football game win thing last night?
they've had a lot of years where they've gone to Fargo, played better, or played as good as NDSU and not won. Yesterday they were significantly better than NDSU, and it was in the last play of the game essentially to win the game. So I guess the proverbial monkey is off their back. To me, it doesn't mean a whole beans if they finish the regular season at 9-2 or something. But it's a pretty big win as far as getting the Dakota Marker back, actually making the thing with NDSU rivalry once again. Rivalry renewed.
Good. People get excited about these things. They get very excited about they win the game because they don't ever win the game. So I couldn't imagine what they would do if they would win a national championship. I couldn't imagine.
Like what? Like how so?
Like they would just be unbelievable. I mean, they would just not the greatest day of some people's lives.
Yeah, to me, it's not conceivable.
To win a national title?
Them winning a national title in football right now is not conceivable to me.
Why is that? If I guaranteed you do not have to play North Dakota State.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but it's just like I'm not able to comprehend the idea that a John Stiegelmeier coach team is going to win the national championship with all these guys from South Dakota, and I mean they just always seem to stumble into 4 losses a season. So
I think they North Dakota State. I mean that's the only barrier. If you get them out of the equation, then it opens up the deal. So.
I think the most important thing is to not blow it against Youngstown State and have your win over North Dakota State mean something. Even if to at least make it so North Dakota State does not win the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Have somebody else win it. Don't let North Dakota State get the buys and play at home every game in the postseason.
Yeah, what I want to see
on like a separate non-South Dakota State level, I would like to see North Dakota State, like they could, even if they were undefeated, be like, okay, that's fine, but we're going to give you like the number 17 team schedule and have you play everybody on the road and see how much that would change things for you.
I would like to see. There's 2 things I want to see in the playoffs this year. I'd like to see SDSU host a playoff game, and I want to see NDSU have to go on the road. I mean, And obviously, the first round or two, they're going to be at home. But at some
I want to
point,
see him host a second-round playoff game.
yes, you.
Just because the attendance. I just want to see the attendance. That's all I give a shit about. I just want to see the meager attendance when Northern Arizona comes trucking in on December 3rd or whatever the hell. That's all I give a shit about right there. So. The final debate of the day, Wednesday night. This week was the sexual assault week of the campaign. Anything else going to come out before we still got 2 days before this thing happens. So anything else going to come out? More sexual assaults? Something else? Or dare we say we stand pat now until Wednesday? Could we stay 3 fucking days without something happening?
Well, right now we're in the call, voter fraud and this election's rigged and we have these people that are vowing to have a revolution if Trump doesn't win. I think that's going to get a lot more steam in the last 3 weeks because you've got people who, there was a terrorist attack that was essentially thwarted that was scheduled to go the day after Election Day in Kansas.
When was this?
What's that?
When was this?
Just a couple days ago. FBI arrested 3 people who were planning to blow up an apartment building in a city in Kansas that has a bunch of people that work in a meatpacking plant. And, the whole poll watching and voter fraud thing is, that very well could be happening in our part of the country, South Dakota.
Of all the swing state of South Dakota.
Well, I think you have more of the people here who are all fed up with, people that they don't like or minorities or illegals or, this is their chance to get back at them. To me, this was not a good week for democracy or any sort of confidence in our society. It was terrible.
Corinne's asked if there was anything else that had come out. I don't know off the top of my head. Do either of you guys know how old Trump is, like within a year or two?
69.
70.
70. So he would be born in 46.
40, yep. 46, 47, somewhere. Yep.
Meaning he would have been 17 and 63.
Yes.
So I'm going to assume that he was in Dallas in November of 63, and that's going to come out this week. That's my guess.
So he and Cruz's dad conspired to kill President Kennedy. How about
they were LBJ guys, I guess.
Trump turned 70 years old in June. Is when he turned old. The debate was last Sunday night. It seems like it was a month ago, but it's actually a week ago. And the star was Ken Bone. How much do you like Ken Bone? Are you done with Ken Bone?
I'm done with him.
When did you say, all right, that's enough?
A couple days ago when I definitely appreciate Ken Bone getting his 15 minutes and him trying to make as much money off of it as possible. But I was pretty much done when he's like, hey, I'm Ken Bone. Drive it, take an Uber. Like, no, come on, man. Like, people like you because you're the everyman. You put that red sweater on and that dumb white tie and you went out there and you did your thing. And I thought the way SNL kind of summarized him last night was good. Where like he didn't say anything. Nobody cared what Ken Bone had to ask as a question. He was just a fat guy with a red sweater that was out there. And then we should have known that just like Joe the plumber from however many years ago, there's gonna be stupid shit in his past that's gonna come out and everybody's gonna not be a Ken Bone fan anymore.
How much of the success was due to the red sweater?
Go ahead.
If he wears a suit or if he wears a black sweater, does that greatly diminish the possibility of these?
The two things are, one is his name is Ken Bone. Hello. And two, it's a sweater. I think if he's wearing anything else, this isn't as much of a thing.
And like when you saw that guy, like immediately you're like, holy shit, look at this guy. Look at this guy's name and look at this sweater. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And like, everybody jumped on it.
And after that debate where it was just shit for 75 minutes, and then he comes up, and then the guy after him asks the question about like, what do you like about the other person? It's just like, I guess we. It's good that we get this weird finish to this debate where we don't have to talk about Trump being an asshole and all this stuff. So,
not a fair question because one's been around. Well, one's dead, but the thing has been around way longer than the other. Are you more sick of Ken Bone or Harambe?
I think I've said before, I'm still good with Harambe. Whatever Harambe means you've got out there, people are going to dress like Harambe for Halloween, I'm sure. That's fine.
Like when they do like the, I don't know, maybe the Academy Awards or something, they have all the people that died the year before. Is he going to be a part of that?
He wasn't part of the Academy, was he? Or was he in the King Kong movie or something?
No, he's just a guy. Just a big gorilla.
I don't think he'll be in it.
Well, that's maybe a miscue on their part. So. Debate on Wednesday. Check your local listings. Check the blog. Check the Stacking blog. He'll tell you what time it is Eastern, Central, Pacific.
He will, but he won't tell you till Friday after it's over.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get to that NHL first week reaction to the action there. So that comes first. Everything else will come secondary. So, any other thoughts, musings? The leaves are changing.
The last 3 days, it's been like raining leaves outside my window, and I don't know if I think in like 3 days all the leaves will be off the trees. It takes a week for that to happen. It seems so.
Possibly
what are your guys' thoughts on your Vikings having a bye week?
It's good. They stay undefeated.
I would say it's a good time to have a bye week. Good time to have a bye week. Got a lot of easy games coming up. Got some Bears games, Lions games. That's a whole lot of hell of a fun beating those teams every year. Obviously, I love playing Philadelphia next week. Tremendous.
My analysis is that I think obviously who's it? Andre Smith. He's out for the season now.
Good.
Their line is good. I mean, I don't know how many sticks of putty you can keep putting into that line and hoping it holds up. It worries me because obviously they become a fast team, and it's pretty important that they block the bastards. So that has me concerned.
I'd say I'm not concerned because nobody that's been worth the shit has gotten hurt. Joe Berger's good. He's the center. He hasn't gotten hurt yet, so that's fine. The guy they put in at right tackle seemed to be fine. T.J. Clemmings doesn't seem to be any good. So we got Jake Long. Charlie Hildebrand. Do you expect anything from Jake Long?
We don't know that Jake Long's good, though.
I know, we don't know. But torn ACL been off for, 2 years now? Charlie, do you have any expectations that he'll do anything? I'm assuming he's going to play because they got a spot there, and who the fuck knows? He may start next week.
I think it's tough to expect anything more than just basic competency from him.
And that would be a great improvement if he could be average, if he could be slightly above average, slightly below average.
Well, I would say competency is below average. Slightly
I might
below
take that.
average
I
in
might
my
take
book.
I may take that right now. So there you go.
All right. Also, the Los Angeles Rams were 3-2 and then lost today, and they're 3-3. What do you think the odds are of the Rams going 8-8 and Jeff
100%.
Fisher going 8-8?
100%. 1,000%. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
It won't happen, but how much fun would it be if Les Miles was the head coach at LSU or at Purdue next year?
That'd be interesting. The NCAA would have to look into that and say, hey, what's going on here? Why? What's going on?
You're offering this coach illegal benefits?
Something's going on here. Maybe Nagy will take the job. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Nagy. Philadelphia's got a hell of a schedule coming up here. So I'll say they start 3-0 and go 3-9. I think they lose 9 in a row because I hate their quarterback. So I think that's right. Philadelphia.
Oh. Well, I mean, I had them pegged as like a 2 or 3 win team. So
They've met expectations early.
The bottom's going to have to fall out here at some point, I think.
It's falling out right now.
You say 3-9. I'll go slightly more optimistic at
5-7.
4-5. So
Well,
they go 8-8.
8-8 would be a very good year for the Philadelphia. Well, Hobo Day this week. Hobo Day on Friday, or on Saturday, make that. Youngstown State, very good.
South Dakota Prep football ends on Thursday, regular season.
That's right. Wrap it up. And chances there's a podcast on Saturday.
Good. Chances are good.
Chances are good for a podcast on Saturday. There we go.
Could have done one yesterday.
Could have, yes. There were too many flies.
Dak Attack going to be at Hobo Day?
Doubtful. We'll see.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. Now that they beat North Dakota State, that probably changed. You remember how depressed Stacken was like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks
The worst
ago
week of his life.
when we did this? I mean, Stacken's got to be just on cloud 9 right now. I mean, part of me is happy for him, but I'm also worried that he's going to get mugged by just walking around in South Dakota State stuff and cocking off to the wrong person in Fargo.
Hopefully he doesn't go absentee voting this week.
He texted me yesterday, said just got done running a lap in the park with my Jax flag. So, and I haven't heard from him since, so he may not be with us anymore.
Can you confirm or deny that same park's the one that Schottenkirk shit in or not?
Not confirmed. Not confirmed.
But not denied either.
Likely two separate parks.
Okay. Likely 2 separate parks. We can't say for sure. So, Lounge, this was number 191. What's going to be 200 here? Let's take a peek. When is 200 going to happen? That could.
I don't know. Is that after the conference title games? We'll know the playoffs.
Let's see.
I think it's after
92,
that.
93. Switch, damn thing, switch. Fucking thing doesn't switch. Goddamn thing, switch here, you son of a bitch. Fucking, just want to say goddamn date. 91, 92, 93. This ain't working at all. What an asshole. What an asshole this thing is.
Let me try it. Let me try it here.
Maybe we got to get the Google machine going.
3. We got 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 200 will be December 18th.
December
If we don't
18th.
a week off the rest of the way.
It'll be a big bowl spectacular. Right before the
That's
bowls.
right.
Or maybe the day of the first bowl game.
The bowls will start on the 17th. We'll have our show on the 18th.
Good.
Colorado State Army. We'll be previewing that game.
Be a good game.
Put your shit together, Rams. I don't want to see you embarrass me in the New Orleans Bowl.
One I wanted to mention with Trump, he had a big feud with Paul Ryan for a couple of days to redo that, and I would say over the past 15 months, Charlie, he's gone through a decade worth of wrestling feuds in a year. He goes through
Trump
a
or
feud.
Paul Ryan?
Trump, he goes through a feud in 48 hours, and maybe he'll come back to it later on in a month or two, in a week or two, but fuck, we're just week by week, bam. Feud and done.
Well, you remember, supposedly, the old WCW, and I don't even remember what it was called before that, the NWA or whatever.
Yeah.
That, they would have these feuds that would last, 6 or 8 months and forever. And then in the WWF, they started, during the Attitude Era, kind of shortening them.
Yep.
And I guess that he's just, the next level of that. We're just no, I'm going to have more than one, and it's only going to last, a day. And then it's going on to something else. And I mean, I don't know. It's impressive, I guess, in a weird way, and ultimately a bad way. But
Goldberg's going to have a match next month of a fan of that era. Does Goldberg Lesnar interest you? Pique your interest at all?
it doesn't interest me enough to purchase it, but it interests me enough to find out what happened from somebody else after it has occurred. And it's just unfortunate that they're. I mean, what? It was like what year was it when they did that?
A dozen years ago. 12 and a half
12 years ago? Yeah. It would have been nice if they were both like 7 years younger. Like I'm assuming Lesnar is younger than Goldberg.
He's about 12 years younger. Goldberg's 49.
Yeah, I was going to guess 50. So yeah, I mean,
There you go.
I mean, it's interesting, and I don't know. You're far more in tune with pro wrestling anymore than I am, but it seems like, and maybe it's always done this, and I just didn't know it, but it seems like there's a large, like, yeah, let's get these guys from when it was more popular.
Pretty much. I'm probably looking forward to it more than most people are. I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Lesnar, he'll win. It'll be.
I used to have a roommate who watched wrestling. If I still lived with him and he bought it, I would certainly be like, yeah, I'm intrigued to see Goldberg and Brock Lesnar fight.
It would be interesting. So that's coming up next month. Survivor Series. Get your WWE Network out there. So Lounge 191 in the books. Stack and will have Stack and talk about his great 1 year anniversary coming up next week. Will David Schottenkirk ever appear again? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe next week's the week. So
Breaking news. PFT commenter in the third row at the Cubs game, right behind Marlins man.
good. Right by him.
Dressed right behind him. He's dressed like Marlins man.
Oh, so Marlins man is not there.
No, he's there with them.
They're both dressed in Marlin shit.
Yes.
I better check my closet. Make sure my stuff's still in there.
And they're at the Cubs game doing this?
Right behind home plate, yep.
I apologize for sounding like I'm 50 here. What's the Marlins man thing?
So it's this guy, he's like a lawyer down in Miami or somewhere, and this is his thing. He just goes to big time sporting events, and he wears his Marlins jersey, bright orange Marlins jersey, and he gets the best seats. He sits.
Okay.
They're showing the blimp here, and I think I see him already from the blimp.
Yeah, they're
like this
right
big
there.
orange thing and a bunch of white and gray and blue in the crowd. And
they're going to go to the behind.
Yep, there he is. He usually wears a visor, doesn't he?
Yep.
There he is, and long-haired dude behind him. Was this on Twitter that you found this, or what?
Yeah. Everybody's like, that's PFT commenter. And
is it? Is it?
He's got this. Yeah, he's got the sideways.
Is it? That is him.
What channel's the baseball on?
FS1.
FS1, man. We
That's
got
why I was okay.
got a lead
The
change.
channels I were checking were the wrong ones. I checked Fox and TBS, and it was not on either of those. It's on the other Fox.
Adrian Gonzalez home run, 1-0 Dodgers. It's not
the whole reason I asked is I knew he went to different things. I was just double checking and making sure it wasn't a Marlins fan who was just like sticking it to the Cubs on purpose and only going to Cubs games. For a second, I thought maybe that's what it was, and I was going to say that would be a really long running gag, but would be hilarious at the same time.
Oh, terrific troll job to just have the behind home plate seats for 13 years after your team, gave the long-suffering franchise the Bartman ordeal, and oh man, that'd be awesome.
And that's them behind home plate. Yeah, the only two in orange.
Very good. Lounge 191 in the books. We'll see you next week for 192 and maybe a podcast from a very loud establishment coming up next week. So we'll see you next week. Stackin', happy anniversary to Mr. Stackin'.